Hotel brothers and sisters, Black Power, as always, giving honor to the Creator, giving honor to the ancestors. Chief of Staff, Brother Harris Abdul, my sister, my father, my in-laws, my subscribers, my viewers, my supporters, my donors, family members, and all of those who are fighting for our liberation and salvation in this black nation. I want to talk to you all today about something that most of you probably don't even know about this sister, Sarah Rector, the first black millionaire in the United States. She was a multi-millionaire at 10 years old. She's a descendant of the Muskogee Creek Nation. And what happened was, after they were ran off of their land, crackers ran them off of their land, she managed to hold on to her property because she is descendants of slaves. And her land was filled with crude oil up there in the Creek Nation, Indian Creek Nation, up in Oklahoma, where they were extracting, these crackers were extracting 250,000 barrels of oil a day off of her land. So she became a multi-millionaire. And she was born on the Indian Creek plantation. Strong, powerful sister. And also get the book Searching for Sarah Rector, the richest black girl in America. Can you imagine, our young queens at 10 years old being multi-millionaires? And crackers was so upset at the fact that this sister was a multi-millionaire, they tried to label her and classify her as white, which it did not work. They tried to do everything they could to take her money from her. All types of laws they tried to pass, and even the laws of that it was legal for a white man, old ass white decrepit man, to marry a child, a black young child, which it didn't work. She received thousands and thousands of marriage proposals from white men all over the world, even in London, England, because everyone was after her money. And she was not a tight individual. She was very, very powerful. She began to learn economics at an early age. And she refused to give in. She refused to not allow these devils to take her wealth from her. And she got married to, she was born in 1902 and she passed in 1967. She was from Taft, Oklahoma. And in 1930, she married this brother, Kenneth Campbell. And as you can see, she was well off, lavish, living a lavish lifestyle. But at the same time, she wasn't a Madam C.J. Walker. I don't even like to call her Madam. She wasn't a C.J. Walker where she was just selfish with her wealth and wanted to just drain the black community by using another form of gentrification, by gentrifying her own fucking people, making them look white bleaching cream, this fucking all these perms and all this shit. This is where that shit originated from. C.J. Walker and her efforts to become rich by distorting the heritage and image of the black man and woman. But nevertheless, Sarah Rector was she began to grow up very, very quick. And she married Kenneth Campbell. And they became the first Kansas City's first black millionaires. And Campbell had a Huntmobile dealership on 19th and Vine. He later moved to Chicago and became an alderman there, meaning he went to Chicago and became a city councilman. And but they also had a mansion, and they entertained a lot of black stars and black entertainers in this mansion that they had. And at the same time, Sarah Rector hired not only a limo driver, but hired a bus driver to transport black children to school, to and from school, each and every day. You know, that's to show you how powerful she was. That's one of the ancestors from the Indian Creek Territory Reservation. Matter of fact, in this photo, she was well over 100 years old. Now, in Virginia, and not Roanoke, but Culpeper, Virginia, in the 1940s, Sarah Rector and her sisters, pictured here, went to Culpeper, Virginia, in Loudoun County, Virginia, to try to save their nephew from being lynched, which they were unable to stop the lynching. I don't have a picture of the brother, the nephew who was lynched in Virginia. However, there are photos available, probably at the Library of Congress. Probably at the Library of Congress, there are pictures available of the brother, the nephew of Sarah Rector. Nevertheless, in 1934, she married William Crawford, and they began to open a lot of major businesses, because Sarah Rector at that time, as you know, by being a multimillionaire at 10 years old, she really, really had to grow up quick. And the pressures that she had on her life was always threatened. All types of government officials were always after her, trying to bring her moves and take her land from her and take her wealth from her, but none of that shit did not work. So, get the book about Sarah Rector. Very, very, very inspirational, very, very powerful book. I didn't go into a lot of details about it because I know, first of all, you've never heard of Sarah Rector, and your research, you might be able to dig more deeper than I. So, she is a very, very important person when you're looking at these niggas of today who are wealthy, these women, black women today who are wealthy, that don't give a damn about the black community. And I'm going to show you the difference, because Sarah Rector, who passed in 1967, left a lot of money for education. for black children, as well as providing bus services. I believe she had a connection with the Black Wall Street, the original Black Wall Street in Durham, North Carolina, where the largest black bus service was established. And so she made a hell of a difference. And this is why, as a result of that, these crackers really dominated the Indian reservations. That's why they bled those Indian reservations dry, bled them dry. To up to this day, the reservations don't have shit. They're extremely poor, extremely povertized, lack of education. They're very highly illiterate, and most of the residents on those reservations are chronic alcoholics. A lot of them have various different illnesses. There's a lot of drugs being sold and used on the reservations. But the difference was when Sarah Rector was on the, because she was raised on Indian Creek Plantation, once again. And, you know, the land was very, very plentiful prior to the annihilation of the so-called Native Americans, which you can see Sarah Rector, who is a Muskogee Creek Indian, and you can see how heavily melanated she was. So, let's not forget Sarah Rector. Now, the original Betty Boop, you know, the Betty Boop cartoon where Hollywood made millions and billions off of Betty Boop. Betty Boop. Which the original Betty Boop was a black woman. The original Betty Boop cartoon was a black woman. And they used a jazz singer and entertainer called Esther Jones, which her name was Baby Esther, as you can see. And then from Baby Esther it went to Betty Boop. And so what they did was whiten the black Betty Boop and made her white. So when you all be having, because I've seen a lot of you niggas with Betty Boop tattoos and all this shit on you, the white version of them. You need to go and get the original one, get those tattoos darkened up, get those tattoos melanated, because you do not have the real Betty Boop. So let's give honors and props to Sister Esther Jones, because she was the Beyonce in terms of dancing back in the 30s. And that's she was provocative. She was very, very had a very, very seductive dance style. And so that's where the poo-poo-be-doo and all of that came from. It didn't come from no motherfucking white bitch. And if you look at the cartoons, you don't know any white bitches, even though it's a cartoon. No white bitches have asses like that. Now let's be real. So let's give credence and honor to Esther Jones, because she never got recognition for none of the work, and in terms of how she was used by white America. Her style, her creativity, and everything was stolen from her. So we honor that sister. In case you want to know, Ludwig van Beethoven, which I told you earlier, a couple of years ago, that Beethoven was black. I've been told you that. Toven Bay. Bay is the Moorish suffix And they had books, they still have books on Beethoven's hair alone, of the texture of his hair during that time, because he was the greatest composer, classical composer that ever lived. And he was a straight black man, not a mulatto, not a quadroon, not an octoroon. He was a straight up blackamoor. According to the Sadie edition of Grove's Dictionary of Music and Musicians, page 392, the most appropriate impression we can expect of the composer's physical appearance is the 1814 engraving by Blasius Hovel and the 1812 life mask, which clearly reveals his broad, flat nose, which can be seen in the Jacobs book, pages 142, 143 of the Hovel portrait on page 150. The author of this edition of Grove's, page 392, insists that the idealized portraits and busts owe nothing to literal or even poetic truth. So, a picture is not always worth 1,000 words, meaning the pictures that you've been taught, that we've been taught in school about Beethoven, giving him credit as being white, that, you know, that those pictures don't say shit. And so, a lot of people also have forgotten that Beethoven had cut his fingers, cut in between all of his fingers to stretch his hands to play the 32 chords with both hands, which the average person that plays any Beethoven music today, it takes at least 2 people to play any Beethoven's music. And that was the reason why he cut in between his hands to stretch his hands. Amazing, powerful brother. Now let's talk about how our people suffer on a daily and consistent basis. Let's take a minute and just look at this. If you have a place to go, you have food in your refrigerator, you have food on your table every day, you have a roof over your head, you have access to clean clothing, you have access to hot water, soap, that you should be far more than thankful in these days and times compared to some of our brothers and sisters who have nothing. And see, a lot of you all would like to say that our disenfranchised and our poor people brought it on themselves. They're strung out on drugs and all of this other shit. Those are just excuses. Of course, we have a good portion of our brothers and sisters in the black community who have resorted to drinking and drugging as a coping mechanism to deal with the oppression, to deal with unemployment, to deal with being rejected daily and consistent, to deal with incest, sexual abuse, infant mortality, which is the #1 killer in the black community, which we are avid participants of our own destruction in terms of choice and pro-life in the black community. But when we see our brothers and sisters that are hungry out there, that have mental health issues, that are struggling, we have been trained by white America and by the bourgeois Negro to look down and forget about them, do not respect them, don't give them anything. But one thing you motherfuckers need to know, that at some point, black people are going to revolt. And it's going to be the have-nots, because they have nothing to lose, that's going to tear the head off the devils, white and black devils. Right now, black people the black community is being pushed little by little into a corner. More and more. And I hope that the black community gets pushed into a corner where they have no room and no other alternatives but to retaliate in full form. In full fucking killer mode. How can we walk down the street and see our sisters and our elders in this position, living on fixed incomes with different types of medical problems? Because the medical situation, medical illnesses have flooded and plagued the black community. No more the sickle cell, TB, and pneumonia. Cancer runs rapid. Every other person that appears over 40 has some form of cancer in the black community. AIDS, drug addiction, alcoholism, high blood pressure, diabetes, COPD, strokes, kidneys failure. All of this shit is flooding the black communities and is turning our elders as well as our brothers and sisters into fucking guinea pigs. And they are addicted to these prescription medications. And we are doing nothing about it. And then you expect the black youth who may have a criminal history, a criminal past, just trying to get on his feet to take care of his family, but is rejected every single day, who is public enemy number one, who is looked at with so much scorn and fear because of who he is, a strong black alpha male. And the ones that are considered for employment and given opportunities are those who have resorted to a life of homosexuality and have become non-threatening and have become soft and a fucking pussy and a disgrace to the black community. But my message to you young brothers is to stand up. Continue to stand up. Do not give your manhood, trade your manhood in for no goddamn money. For no trinkets. Because the shit, don't trade any perishable items for something that's non-perishable like your soul. But the hell that the black youth and the young black men and black men period go through on a daily and consistent basis, it is a fucking disgrace. Because they don't know what day will be their last. Just walk into the store and one of these motherfucking intoxicated white supremacist pigs can stop him and take his life from him. Because it's almost legal to kill a black man with no consequences. And we accept this shit. See, this poverty has been passed down from generation to generation ever since Reconstruction. Ever since the so-called emancipation, where our ancestors were literally thrown out to fend for themselves with no wealth, no 40 acres and a mule, no type of reparations. And this is why reparations is so important today. And then some of you niggas that get trinkets from the goddamn devil say that reparations is not important. Because you are that selfish that you don't give a fuck about what your ancestors did for your existence. That they bled and died for your existence. And you're telling the white man not to compensate your own grandparents and great-grandparents and beyond. Why these motherfuckers like this, who, take for instance Bob Johnson, this goddamn piece of shit, who from BET, 3 goddamn decades nearly of the black community supported BET, gave their all in all to BET, and he takes it and hands it over to a white blood-sucking motherfucking Jew. That's to show you how trifling our motherfucking people are. P. Diddy, the same way. Everyone around him has been murdered. No one has been successful and left the bad boy record industry with any type of royalties, any type of fame, any type of fortune, with the exception of him. All of his artists have been financially raped and physically raped, and he's still doing the same procedures for those searching for a record deal. Same way with Shaq, showing off a Masonic ring to say that he is a fucking servant of the goddamn cracker. Him and Dr. Gay. Shaq, who is this field ape, this motherfucker nephew of a zoo gorilla, has the nerve to skin and grin in white America's face every goddamn week on that NBA shit. Who was nothing but a big punk. Dr. Dre, who sexed his way to success. Sacrificing his own brother, sacrificing his own son. And publicly spoke on giving his soul for $1 million. Another nephew of the zoo gorilla, Michael Jordan, who takes pride in looking down on black people. The 3rd largest investor in CCA, Corrections Corporations of America. As long as black men and women are being incarcerated and locked up, Michael Jordan becomes more wealthy. He doesn't give a damn about nobody but himself and that white dog, that white house pet, that diseasy walking germ, fish and doo-doo smelling motherfucking snow bunny skeet bitch that he has next to him. And if I was in his face, I would call her, I would say the same thing to him in his face. Not only about him, or about the bitch that he's sitting with. This white semen drinking bed wench hoe here. The slave master's hoe. See, I told y'all these niggas are the gatekeepers. You see how she's standing. They're sitting down. They making her stand up because she's a black bitch to them. She's a black housemaid. She has to stand while these 2 white, decrepit motherfucking ice monkeys sit down, and she's grinning all goddamn teeth. But then a lot of you sisters will get mad when a brother don't give his seat up. But you look at this shit as being cool. Like this motherfucking bitch is some power. A picture says a lot. She's not even worthy to have it. It's not even a chair for her to sit at. Brothers and sisters, this shit ain't a game. Shit is not a game. Our people are dying every day. We're calling on various different gods for help. And it appears that no one hears our cry. The louder we yell, the worse it gets. Our brothers and sisters are dying from overdoses of fentanyl, mass amounts of narcotics, engaging in just drowning themselves in alcohol, prescription medications, and literally walking around like zombies. As a result, gentrification, white supremacy. I've told you all, white supremacy affects your organs. You become so stressed out from working for the cracker, not knowing what day you're going to get laid off. Government shutdowns and all this shit can worry you to the point where your fucking kidneys are shut down. That's white supremacy. White privilege. And so you niggas who keep defending these motherfucking crackers, while at the same time they're pushing us deeper and deeper in the ground. The hell with you niggas too. Because in order for black people to be emancipated, we have to kill the house niggas first. Because they're going to fight the hardest to protect mass. I know that from experience. Anytime you see a black person dealing with a white person, it's always going to be a black nigga that's going to take the side of the cracker. That's just innate in his house nigga goddamn DNA. Hotel, Black Power.